The Underground Castle by Alban Mitchell. For Kodlyoko.fr. Proofreading by Aquina Fairies and Kelsey. Images and formatting by Aqua Tyclovic. Tonight it will be 10 years since I first met her, and I've decided the time has come to tell our story, to reveal the incredible facts that we witnessed together. Yumi Ishiyama, Ulrich Stern, Odd de la Robia, and myself, Jeremy Belpaw. And Aelita, naturally. Not one day has passed when I've not thought of you, Aelita. This story is for all my friends, but it is above all else for you, Aelita. Goodness knows if you're still listening. Jeremy. Chapter 1. A Butterfly at the Bottom of the Sea. The Sea of Japan, December 21st. They say that if a butterfly flaps its wings in Beijing, in New York there is rain instead of sunshine. Quite possibly they are right, at least some of the time, but it is difficult to say. Everyone notices when it starts raining, but the fact remains that no one is ever in a position to trace the butterfly responsible. On Tuesday, December 21st at 2:26 p.m., the ship KNT-17 came to rest at anchor in the wide expanse of the Sea of Japan, and one of the officers made radio contact with the ship's land base. "We are in position." On the receiving end of the message was Yukiko Itao, a beautiful Japanese girl some 23 years of age, listening in front of the ship's land base. From the calm of her workstation, Yukiko controlled several screens that encircled her, and adjusting a microphone to her mouth, she replied, "Base here, all clear. You have permission to launch Ravi whenever you want." The KNT-17 was a cable ship. Her mission was to monitor the telecommunications cables that connected Japan to the United States. This simple-sounding task had one major complication, however. The cables were at a depth of more than 1,000 meters below sea level. And here was where Ravi entered the game, as the staff who oversaw the intense operation familiarly thought of it. In spite of the irreverent nickname, Ravi was in fact a highly sophisticated robot, an ROV, remotely operated vehicle, and about the only thing capable of operating undisturbed in the unimaginable pressures of the ocean abysses. From the monitors of her workstation, Yukiko was presented with a twin view. One was of the robot, looking like a gigantic yellow hermit crab as it descended towards the waves, suspended from the boom of a large crane, and on the other display was the face of the officer who was her counterpart aboard the ship. How are you, sweet creature?" His voice squawked from the radio transmitter. Yukiko laughed. "You mean me?" "No, you misunderstood me. I was speaking to Ravi." She laughed. "Focus on the job. The longer we waste time, the longer Japan remains disconnected from the internet." 6 hours ago, the cable deep below the KNT-17 had begun to experience intermittent signal loss, and it was quickly becoming worrisome. Through it passed the majority of telephone and email signals exchanged between Japan and America, and vice versa. They had to act quickly, but with precision. Diving speedily underwater, thanks to its powerful helix-shaped propellers, Ravi soon intercepted the cable, a giant black snake that lay on the seafloor, stretching to infinity in both directions. All around the ocean was silent and lifeless. At this depth there was not even any fish. Without the luminous bundle of light suspended ahead of the robot's watertight television camera, the screen in front of Yukiko would have seemed completely extinguished. Several minutes passed. Then the hush was broken by the sudden sound of the officer's voice in her headphones. "We seem to have found the source of the breakdown. Looks like it was nothing too serious." From one of Ravi's internal compartments a mechanical arm emerged. Then it grew and extended until it grazed the surface of the cable. And at that moment, Yukiko's electronic instrumentation went berserk. "Wait, it stopped!" she yelled instinctively. "What's happened?" "It was an incredible data burst, I think. I don't know how to explain it, but it seems like a blockage cleared in the cable." "Yukiko, can you repeat that? You sound upset." "You heard me perfectly. As soon as you touched the cable, the signal resumed." "But it only grazed it. And how do you explain a fiber optic cable becoming blocked?" The girl ignored the comment and quickly glanced to her monitors. No matter how she looked at it, everything seemed to have slotted back into place. The telecommunication signals were relaying perfectly. "Do you want us to proceed with the repairs anyway?" "No, continuing would serve nothing. Suspend the mission, recover Ravi, and return to home base." "Perfect. Then tonight we can go out together?" Yukiko smiled and tidied up a lock of hair behind her ear. "Sure, why not?" While in Japan, the internet was resuming normal operations. In France, a 13-year-old girl was having breakfast in the cafeteria of Caddick Academy. She was known as Aelita Stones, but in the course of her short life had been called by many names. Not tall for her age, she had a small, upturned nose, large eyes, and hair the color of flame styled in a helmet bob. She wore comfortable dungarees and had a serious air about her that contrasted with the joy of the other students. Around her table, the atmosphere was festive. It was the penultimate day of school before the Christmas holidays, and lessons would only be resumed 20 days later in January. Bags of time to spend at home in the company of their families. Aelita, however, had other plans, which were not as pleasant. Her parents, in fact, were no more. She had the impression that centuries had passed in which she was alone in the world. Since that horrible day when her father... "Is everything all right?" someone called, and she turned to the familiar features of Jeremy. Jeremy Belpois was 13 years old like her, but his hair was blonde, worn slightly long, and round glasses perched on his nose. Jeremy was an important person to her, especially since that terrible day on which her father... Aelita? The girl was frozen, her croissant in midair and her mouth ajar, a lost look in her empty eyes. "She's just paralyzed with emotion," commented a third friend. Odd de la Robia was grinning like usual, his hair spiked back from his head in its usual rock star look. "So, Jeremy, a diabolical plan is ready?" Odd said, turning to his friend. "To the most minute detail," Jeremy agreed. "Aelita will come to my home for Christmas. My mother is ecstatic at having a girl to spoil." "What about you?" "Put a sock on it, Odd." Our little computer science romance." Jeremy flared up, but he continued to speak as if nothing had happened, staring down at his plate. "We'll return to the academy on Sunday the 9th, a day before lessons resume." "Perfect. What have you told your parents?" "That we're staying with Ulrich's family for that night." "So have I. Hopefully they won't check. And what about the others? Do you know how they feel?" "No, but we've already discussed everything. I don't believe there will be any difficulties." "Hey, Aelita, still here with us?" Odd suddenly asked the girl, having noticed that throughout their conversation she had not moved a single muscle. The croissant was still frozen in front of her nose. "Aelita, if this is intended as a joke, it isn't amusing," Jeremy said with a worried air. The girl stared fixedly at him, batting her eyelids uncertainly. "Jeremy? Is that your name? Honestly?" He stared incredulously, and then she laughed in embarrassment. Odd pretended to play along with her game. "Yes, he's Jeremy and I'm Odd. We're your best friends, don't you remember?" He had intended it as a witty remark, but Aelita did not laugh. "No," she replied.